This is the Extended Gamut Podcast, the podcast for printing professionals. We explore trending topics in the print industry. At times, we meet with industry experts, and today we take your questions. Welcome to episode 14. All right, here we are. Andy, episode 14.
End of summer, turning the corner, kids back to school, trade shows around the corner.
We're going back to school. We're going back to basics. We're taking your questions for this episode of the Extended Gamut Podcast. 5 new questions from you, the people. What do you think?
I think it's good. They're the guests. No special guests. They are the guests.
They are the guests.
The specialist of guests.
Well, I've successfully played pickleball all summer without any injuries, so that's positive. I've got a couple friends
It's a low bar.
in boots that just got out of surgeries and have done different things. They're helping the medical profession stay afloat. My goal is just not to wind up.
Guys.
Yeah. Really looking out for little guys.
Good for them.
So that's our update on pickleball. If you have questions about pickleball or any other paddle sports, please send them. We'd love to talk about that just about as much as we'd love to talk about printing.
Yeah. I have no affiliation with pickleball, so I would just be doing the interviewing of you. Yeah, send your questions in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You love learning new stuff.
Yeah.
Perfect.
The kitchen, I know that.
The kitchen. Well, since you don't know anything about pickleball, why don't we dive into 5 questions? Question 1. Epson has a bunch of new t-shirt printers. Help me understand the difference between the F30 Max, the F2270. Let's dive in.
Okay. Let's start with the F2270.
Okay.
F2270 is a brand new printer replacing an older printer. We talked about it on the podcast before it was official in the US.
Vespa, we talked about that, yep.
So brand new t-shirt printer targeted at, the customer that is printing a couple dozen shirts maybe in a day, maybe 100 200, 500 shirts a week, something like that, where they would use an F2270 or maybe 2 F2270s, replacing the F2100, which replaced the F2000. So kind of that customer type. And so it has a lot of cool new things. So should we buzz through what the newest features are on the F2270? We've done YouTube videos that are going to go live, kind of digging into more of this, but
we have an F2270. They've started shipping. So now is when I think the questions will probably ramp up.
Yeah.
Why should I buy an F2270, or what's different about it? What's in this model? Yeah. Let's go through the top few things.
So the biggest buzzword thing right now in the industry everywhere is DTF. And this platform allows you to toggle between DTF and DTG easily. So back and forth between printing shirts to printing film to shirts to film. So it's a true hybrid printer. So while you could do DTF film on the F2100, they've done some things to help with workflow to offer better support for DTF users. Mm-hmm. So from the auto garment height adjustment, which will, recognize film height versus sweatshirt height and auto go back and forth, to the Garment Creator 2 software that's going to allow you to tell it that you're printing onto a film, so it'll reverse the ink layers. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a big thing. New ink set. So newly formulated CMYK inks for less bleed, more vibrancy, that kind of thing. So
Is this DG2?
Yep.
DG2 inks.
DG2 inks. More pigment, more vibrance, larger ink bags. not cartridges now, it's bags. So if you are stacking up ink cartridges on your F2100, this is a cool thing to be able to use eco bags that, crush down to a real small size when you go to recycle them.
Mm-hmm.
Print speeds are 20 to 25% faster processing between jobs, faster crunching of jobs and sending it to the printer. So from a output perspective, you should see 20 to 25% faster speeds, which means 20 to 25% more shirts that you can produce in a given time. So that's what's new on the F2270. Can you think of any other things that I didn't state?
Well, you were talking about the ink bags or pouches that are there. So that gives you a little more capacity. It's slightly cheaper.
Yeah.
The ink cost. Not a ton, but it is slightly cheaper. And then when I think about the hardware cost, it's equivalent to the F2100. Now, obviously, when a new printer comes out, they're trying to sell all the old printers.
Yep.
So they usually lower the price. But when you think about what the F2100 was selling for, this printer, I think it retails for $17,995. At the time of this recording, there's like $1,000 promo on it. So it's $16,995, which is right where the F2100 was before they were sort of not end of lifing, but replacing it.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same MSRP price that the F2100 has had all along, $17,995.
Does ink come with it?
That's a good question. We should go check our box.
Yeah, we'll find out because that's the thing.
Yeah.
And then it comes with Garment Creator 2.
Yep. We're going to do an unboxing video. So we'll show everyone exactly what's in the box, what comes with it, what do you have to order separately, all the maintenance items, that kind of thing. We didn't talk about the footprint. The footprint's a lot smaller.
Yeah.
Not a lot smaller, but it's significant. Being able to place it more versatile in where you can place it within a shop, against a wall, up all the way up back against the back wall. So
it's got an enhanced screen. I know when new cars are coming out, they're now talking about this has a 54-inch wide screen. Does that do anything when you're trying to make a T-shirt? It doesn't change anything there, but it is nicer to look at. It's a more colorful screen. It's going to be a little easier. There's like the blue button that you would push that would light up has now moved to be in a more ergonomic position.
Yeah.
So there's small adjustments.
I think it streams Netflix.
Not if it's in Drive. Not if it's in Drive.
Yeah, you have to jailbreak your F2270. Yeah.
All right. So that's the F2270. And then we have the F30 Max.
Yeah. So the F3070 Max, and that's a different story, right? So if the F2270 is a replacement of a printer that's been out in the F2100, the F3070 Max is an enhancement on an existing printer. So I guess if we just go through the three main features about the F3070 Max, it's taking the platform that was the F3070 that's been popular, and it's adding a couple features to it. So the number one thing is a white ink auto circulation enhancement. So the plumbing that's inside the printer, the way that it manages it to better handle the white ink so that you have more consistent and reliable printing with white inks. So that means less clogs and less issues. So being able to rely on your printer is huge. It's hard to run a business if you don't know whether it's going to work or not in the morning. And while the F3070 didn't have major reliability issues, it's cool that Epson saw a component that they could upgrade that would make their customers happier, make their lives easier, and they've put it into place without having to come out with an F3071 or something else. They've done the upgrades, and now they're offering a printer with those upgrades. This is a replacement, so you can't order an F3070 anymore. Everything is an F3070 Max. So it's not while it's not a whole new model with all new marketing attached to it, it's it's not something that sits alongside that you pay extra to get.
Right.
It is the model now.
It is the model.
F3070 Max. It also comes with a 3-year warranty. I think that goes hand in hand with this white ink circulation. The whole industry struggles with white ink, and that's the hardest part of having a printer that prints with white is maintaining it so that it's reliable. So to offer a 3-year warranty that covers parts, labor, travel time, everything, that says they feel strongly that their printer is going to perform. So that's another new thing. So whereas you were used to purchase a 1-year, 3-year, or 5-year warranty when you bought the printer, now it's included that you would receive a 3-year warranty.
That's great.
Yeah. And then the last piece is something we talked about a little bit with the F2270. This is shared between the two printers, is a new software, Garment Creator 2 software, with faster processing speed, sharper resolution, some workflow enhancements.
So that's for finer text. Again, maybe to go to the direct transfer.
Yep, where you
process.
When you print directly to a garment, you're printing to a substrate that has peaks and valleys and texture, and you don't need a resolution as sharp as when you're printing to a film, which is you see everything.
Mm-hmm. So the printer is physically the same, but there's been 3 main updates. That's the white ink circulation,
which I would say that's physical. Right. So there are some
under the hood
components. Yes, under the hood.
But from the outside, it's going to look visually the same. But under the hood, right, new components for the upgraded white ink circulation. Then there's a software update, Garment Creator 2, which you talked about. And then you now will get a 3-year warranty. As part of the price, they've adjusted the price. So you're essentially paying what you would have paid for the printer in a 1-year warranty. So if you go apples to apples, right, we're trying to give you the straight scoop. You're getting an extra 2 years of warranty.
Yep.
At no additional charge per se.
Yeah. Yeah.
You feel good about that?
I do.
Okay. Very good. So hopefully that's helpful in answering that question. We also do have a bunch of videos out there on YouTube going through some of these different things. So
more coming too, right? We're going to look at the speeds. Epson says 20 to 25% faster. Well, is that what we actually get, or is it better? Is it not that much? Do you have to print just CMYK to get those speeds? Is it going to be with white ink?
Yeah.
So there's a lot to test.
To be determined.
Yeah.
All right. Question 2. This came from someone that was looking at one of our more popular videos, which is Best Printer for Canvas. And someone had some questions around, all right, well, once I print the canvas, I just want a simple straight cut for my canvas. I'm not looking for XY. I'm not looking for contour. What is the best cutter or cutter we'd recommend?
Yep.
So we're going to try and tackle that. I would say you and I have not talked about the answer to this, so we could have different answers. We could have the same answers. But I would say that there's 2 things you want to look for when you're deciding on a cutter. Okay. And one is safety. You're cutting with something very sharp. So when you're using a freehand knife or anything, you're dealing with something very sharp. So if you injure yourself, that would be a problem. So we want to make sure that we're finding a safe solution. And 2, you want it to be an accurate cut every time that you can repeat. And what we're really trying to do is eliminate human error. So when you think about stapling a canvas to the back of a frame, right? Sometimes you could just cut it with scissors because you're wrapping it around, stapling it, putting it on a wall. But really, if you want a simple straight cut every time, you want to make sure it's safe so you're not putting yourself at risk, because if you do it 100 times a day, eventually you're probably going to slice your hand. And then how do you eliminate human error? So as I was thinking through what I would suggest, I was putting it through that sort of lens.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a different lens than I was thinking.
Well, why don't you tell me what you were thinking, Andrew?
Safety didn't even cross my mind.
Surprising. Not surprising.
I was thinking about, we have customers, very large customers, printing a lot of canvas that you have teams of people that use scissors, and they're automated scissors, some of them, so it's just bzzz, and they find that to be the fastest way, and it's accurate enough because you're wrapping the canvas. So I was thinking through the lens of what would you need in order to replace that? Like what things have to be better than that solution? Right. And so you have humans, and then with scissors, and then you can buy like a manually operated rotary trimmer.
Yeah.
And then you can buy a powered rotary trimmer. And then you can buy a flatbed cutter. And I see that as the full gamut of like what you could do to cut your canvas, from least technically advanced to most.
And the person asked for a simple straight cut. So I used that also as I made my decision.
Okay.
On the count of three, let's start with the manufacturer of the cutter that we chose, and let's see if it's the same. 1, 2, 3. Foster.
Yeah, Foster.
Okay.
Not to be confused with Keen Cut.
No. That's for a different episode.
The real story of what happened.
All right, Foster. I went with Foster. One thing I like is their blades. They have a rotary blade.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know like the key feature to their rotary blade that makes it advantageous?
The rotary nature of it, that it is round.
And what does that allow for?
It's self-sharpening.
Self-sharpening. I need self-sharpening gardening shears.
It's like a pizza roller out in the yard.
Yeah.
That's what you need. Yeah. So self-sharpening, as opposed to like a razor blade, where the more you use it, the more dull it becomes. So the fact that it's rolling over, it's not dragging. That's a huge feature.
It reminds me, this is just a slight detour. I don't know if you out there ever share big power tools with your family, but in our family, we try to like, if I'm going to buy the power washer, someone else should buy the chainsaw, someone else should buy the, right? Mm-hmm. So my brother has this new chainsaw, and that's what we use for cutting trees, and all of our wives tell us we are absolutely not allowed to use the chainsaw, so we have to wait for them to go out of town so we could start cutting a bunch of trees down. Mm-hmm. And after cutting trees, it dulls itself. Yeah. And my brother got a sharpening tool that's like this for a chainsaw. You don't know what your chainsaw can do until you've sharpened it, and it is chopping trees down like butter.
Really?
Yeah. I used to live in a forest. No, I didn't actually do that. But it is, so I think about self-sharpening and with a sharp cut.
Yeah. Do you think if you brought your chainsaw, they would, at the farmer's market, they would sharpen it for you? Where they do the knife sharpening?
This is an interesting tool. I think they have to have there's a guy that drives through our neighborhood in a mysterious white van with no windows, and he says it's Dave's sharpening service. And you just bring anything that's sharp, and he takes it into a van, shuts the door, and comes out with it really sharp. All right. Okay. So the cutter.
So you want it to be a rototrim. I think if you want a simple, straightforward cross cut. And within that, you have some options from lighter duty to heavier duty, and we don't need to unpack them all. So
I have the one I would go with.
Okay, go ahead.
And then I have one that's close, but just is maybe a little different.
Okay.
So we'll see if it matches up.
So you go ahead.
I was thinking the Digitech Plus. That was the cutter I was thinking.
Yep.
There's one, you could go a level above into like their technical. Mm-hmm. And it adds like a mechanism that helps for downforce, and it's for like, they call it for like extreme cutting. Yeah. But I mean, the question was a simple straight cut. So I would say the Digitech Plus by Foster in the Rototrim family. And then you just have to figure out the size.
Do you want a stand for it, or do you want to mount it to a table? Do you want a roll feed so that you could put a roll of canvas on and pull it through? Is
that sort of the cutter you were thinking too?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's got to be encouraging to the listeners. Two things. One thing I found was when they show you the dimensions of the cutter, they give you like the back dimension and you're like, oh, I got a 24-inch cutter. But you have to also look at the front dimension, because where it looks like a black box that has the mechanism in it. It doesn't cut all 24 inches. So it'll give you one that's like says 24, and then it'll give you another measurement that says like 21, and that's the cutting dimension. So I would never want someone to buy something thinking it's going to cut a certain, make sure you pay attention to that. So they call it like A and B, I think. And one is, I think A is the top and B is the bottom. So the one that's a little smaller in dimension when you look at it, that's your your width. And if you're printing and you have a 44-inch printer, make sure you can at least put 44 inches through there. I like always going 64 inches just because I never know what I'm going to come across, and I'd rather just it be a little bigger.
More wiggle room pulling it in there too.
Yeah. So I don't know. Best cutter for your simple straight canvas. It seems unanimous with 2 people. Foster, Rototrim, Digitech Plus.
Yep.
There you go. Any other comments on that?
I mean, we didn't ask people what their volume is, but you could use a less heavy duty, but still capable trimmer from within that same line.
Yeah.
So I always say this, but call your sales rep, and then you can talk through the options and look at what it is that you need. Because there is a decent price delta when you go from tier to tier and by size.
Perfect. All right. That's question 2. Let's go on to number 3. This one was talking about a lot of times printers will have the same ink. We were just talking about this on the first question. DG2 ink, that's Epson's new direct-to-garment ink formulation. And we would say like, well, the F2100 has a different ink, but that ink is the same ink formulation as the F30. Yep. And when you get to their dye sub printers, or when you get to HP latex, right? What do they say?
There's Gen 4, there's Gen 3. Yeah.
And it can go across different printers, but you buy them in different volumes. So the question was really like, when a set of printers has the same ink formulation, does that mean the ink inside it is identical? So like if someone says I have HP Gen 4 inks, and this is a 5-liter box, and this one's a 3-liter box, is the ink inside it identical when they say same ink formulation?
Yeah. So my understanding is it is. And I guess we can't prove it, exactly that it's coming off the same line or whatever. But
I'm picturing a bourbon barrel. Is it the same that goes into the 1.75 liter handle?
Yeah.
Or the small?
It seems like it would be absurd to not do it that way. Yeah. When you advertise it as the same ink, like you're trying to have economies of scale. And so I think
it is our understanding that it is the same ink.
Yeah.
And we're going to say that. And if it's not, we're hoping someone will call us.
Yeah.
And we will correct ourselves.
Yeah. And we know, so some of these printers, we look at on the solvent printers from Epson, the S80, there's an S80 in cartridge form, and there's an S80L in bulk ink bags. We use the same profiles across those 2 printers. We use, everything is shared. So that's the same ink in it. Same can be said for some of the other printers as well.
Dye sublimation.
Yeah. Where the print head and the ink combo is the same. Oftentimes you share profiles. And so, yeah, when I think same ink formulation, I think exact same ink.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, that was easy enough.
Yeah.
All right. We got 2 questions left. Which one do you want to tackle next?
Let's do it in the order we have here.
Okay. So this 4th question was around the differences. Oh, the new Epson P series, P6570 is what this question was about. How does it compare to the P6000, 7000s?
Yep.
And what's the differences?
Another one we just did a video on, so we could direct them to that video probably pretty soon. But the P6000, P7000, those are going away.
Yep.
They either have been discontinued at this point or will be discontinued very shortly. Mm-hmm. So those are Epson's 24-inch aqueous printers and have been with different names, different changes, tweaks for 10 plus years. So it was a Stylus 7900 before it was the 7000. So there's
7890.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there who have printers that they've bought in the last 10 years that at some point are going to need to upgrade. And this question, it sounds like, is asking, is the P6570 a suitable replacement? What would change between that and what I have now?
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is the shape and construction of the printer itself. It's a whole new redesigned body. So Epson hasn't done that for their aqueous printers in over 10 years.
And that's going to be the 6570 is a 24-inch version, but it's going to be a similar shape and body of the new 8570. Yep. And then also you can go over to the T series and it's like the T7770.
That's the new body.
That's the new body. Yeah.
Yep. So it's a unibody, single piece design. So from a physical perspective, the look is brand new and the way it operates is brand new. So you have an option for dual roll, which you didn't have on the P6000, P7000. It's loaded from the front in the bottom rather than top loaded. It's got an integrated catch basket. So that's all part of, I think, that redesign. But then if you look at the like the ink set and print head combination. So from a print head perspective, it's using the newest Epson 2.6 inch print head versus the 1 inch print head that the P6000 and 7000. So it's about 3 times faster.
Wow.
So that's pretty significant. And then the other thing is the inks are reduced from a 11 color ink set on the P7000 or a 9 color ink set on the P6000 down to a 6 color ink set. So you're going to lose 15 to 25% of your gamut going to a P6570. So that's part of, it's a lot to try and put into one question like this. That's why we did a video, because there is now also a P7570, which kind of gives people an option to either go down an ink set to 6 colors or go up an ink set to 12 colors. They've kind of widened the margin and let customers choose what it is they prefer.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing.
Borderless printing?
Yeah, it's a better workflow for borderless printing. Both offer it, but it doesn't generate the same borderless pads that you have to replace all the time. It feeds to a maintenance tank.
Okay.
It's better for borderless printing for sure.
Cool. Well, I have literally nothing to add to that. That was you covered it all. Good job, Andy.
Yeah. I don't know that I covered it all. So watch the video.
Well, you covered all the things I was going to say.
Okay.
Maybe not everything. Only thing I would add is if you're wondering about the letters at the end of the printer, I did a video recently that talks through all the letters, and that was that took a lot of different research. But you'll have to watch the video for that. Please watch the video.
Yeah, it's got like 3 views.
It's got legs. People are gonna find it, then they're gonna like it, and they're gonna share it.
It's gonna go viral.
Yeah. All right, last question. Is there a longevity rating? So longevity rating meaning like when you think about things being archival. On the new Epson D series, this is the D570, D1070. These are their dry lab, make little photos. Is there a longevity rating? So a lot of times Epson will come out and say, this new photo printer has 200 years archivability, under certain conditions, or they certify it. And someone was asking if...
Yeah. Yes. So this one we'll piece it together because there's not a straightforward answer.
Well, they haven't come out and said we've had it certified yet.
Exactly.
So that would be that. But we have
So we'll piece it from what we do know. So it's a dye-based printer. It's using dye ink. So that's unique now. It didn't used to be.
Versus pigment.
Yep. Epson used to have, everything was pretty much dye-based. That was kind of what everyone did. It provided great prints, very vibrant, but it didn't have the longevity of pigment inks. So as things became more archival, museum quality, Epson introduced pigment inks in, like you said, 200 plus years, super archival. So these are dye-based inks. And I think that's why this person's asking the question is, dye inks are not known to have great longevity. Mm-hmm. So the way that Epson's targeted this printer is to go after mini lab type, traditional silver halide C print type technology. And so what we know from what they've said is that the longevity of their dye-based inks exceeds the traditional C print longevity. Okay. So Fuji Crystal Archive or Kodak Endura. And what we know about those is that they are about 40 years archival. So that's one data point. We know that Epson has said that it's has more longevity than those. And then the other data, so all of this is going to, it's funny how like one man is at the center of all of this. And it's this Henry Wilhelm who runs Wilhelm Imaging Research. And I think he's a customer of ours on some items, but maybe not. I don't know. So he's kind of the guy who's doing a lot of the testing and certifying these things. And there's so many parameters around light fastness testing, and is it behind glass, and which UV is it being exposed to, and for how long? And so the last time that Epson had Henry Wilhelm test their dye-based ink was 2005 that I could find.
Right.
And it was tested for 35 years.
Okay.
At that point. So that's a bunch of different ways of saying, here's what we think it might be. I would say more than 40 years, probably between 40 and 60 years. That would be my best estimate based on what we do know. But Epson has not had it certified and has not, published what they would say is the archival rating on this printer. Because it's not going after that market. It's not going after the museum quality. It's an 8-inch photo printer. So they're competing with the 8-inch photo printer space.
And maybe the person asking the question is thinking, I have a photo printer, and if I buy this $2,500 printer, can I...
Will people... Yeah. Will they notice a difference? And so the short answer would be no. That this competes very well with that traditional... way of doing photo prints.
Well, there you have it.
There you have it.
We tried to buzz through 5 questions as fast as we could.
Yeah. A couple bumps and bruises along the way, but we made it to the end.
So don't forget to get your pickleball questions in. Sharpen the blades on your chainsaws. Share big purchases with your family. And send us your other questions, and we'd love to address them on the next episode of this podcast. But for now, that is it for this, the 14th episode of the Extended Gamut. Hopefully you've learned a few things and enjoyed the conversation on today's topic. You can find us on all the usual platforms, and let us know if you have topics you'd like to discuss, because we'd love to research them and give you answers.
We'd love to give you answers. We may research them.
There it is. Andy has made a promise. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.